Pam Bondi is officially out as the Attorney General under the Trump administration after bungling numerous high-profile investigations. It appears that President Donald Trump has moved to fire Bondi from her current role as AG. And this is according to a scoop over at Fox News. Take a listen.
Kaylee, I just got off the phone with President Trump. We have a big scoop. Pam Bondi will soon leave her job as the Attorney General. She is going to get a different job within the administration. It doesn't sound like there is any bad blood between her and President Trump, but it does seem like they want her to go and do something else. And in an interim role, she will be replaced by Todd Blanche, who is currently her deputy at the Justice Department.
Todd Blanche is a bit of a problem. Todd Blanche is the person who met with Ghislaine Maxwell, if I'm not mistaken, for that secret meeting where some sort of deal was made, and she was immediately moved to a low security facility where she gets to play with puppies, even though she is a child groomer and rapist. But before we get to the details on that, Waz, what do you think about all this?
I think we've moved into a new phase of Donald Trump's presidency. If you guys would remember, this is very early on in Trump 2.0. I forget the fat guy's name, but he's the one that leaked the secret signal conversations to Jeff Goldberg of The Atlantic.
Yes.
And it was so obvious that this dude should be fired, and Trump was so gung-ho about not firing everybody this time around that he just kind of demoted them and moved them into a new job. His whole thing was like, we're not gonna give the libs scalps this time. But I mean, I think that's gone out the window. Like now it's like, all right, Kristi Noem, she's out of here. Pam Bondi, now she's out of here. I think that's just a signal that we've moved on to a different phase of this Trump presidency.
Well, the Kristi Noem thing, you might be able to argue that that was a little bit of a win for liberals, right? Considering how horrible she was. I mean, she called Americans who were gunned down by federal agents terrorists. She called the victims terrorists. Insane. And then, she's been in the news a lot lately for other kind of embarrassing reasons, which I don't want to get into. It makes me uncomfortable, but if you want to look into it for yourselves, please do. When it comes to Pam Bondi, though, she had been taking a lot of heat from Trump's base because, there was one of the things that she was supposed to do, but she bungled, and that was, transparency with the Epstein files. Now, she made the mistake of thinking that Trump wanted her to be transparent about the Epstein files. And then she learned very quickly that no, Trump would like you to engage in a cover up of the Epstein files. And so I'm sure that he was a little salty about that. But I think he's even saltier about the fact that Pam Bondi hasn't been able to secure any successful prosecutions of his political opponents. I think that's the real reason why Trump wants to get rid of her, which makes me worry about what Todd Blanche is gonna be up to. What do you think about that?
I mean, it's hard to be too worried about this stuff, and the cases that they've tried to bring so far have been so cockamamie as to be laughable. Like Trump's own judges are throwing all of these cases out, like the Comey thing. It was like, what are we doing there? Tisha James, like, wait, what? She already fixed the paperwork where she said this was her primary property and she was helping out a family. Like, all of these cases were trash. So I don't know what Todd Blanche is supposed to do with more trash besides eat it. I don't think he's gonna be any happier by bringing Todd Blanche in. I honestly think, Anna, like Trump has always been this way, and he was more trigger happy in the first administration, but he just sees his underlings and subordinates as people to throw under the bus. You're useful in so much as when something goes wrong and I can take heat off of myself, I'll throw you under the bus. Look at Elon Musk in the Doge situation. When he stopped being useful, Trump stopped cutting Tesla commercials. He threw him out, threw him under the bus. And I think everybody in the administration is on notice. Rubio, Hegseth, they're disastrous atrocities that they're carrying on in Iran. Those guys, they need to start getting their resumes polished because they're next.
No, they need to be in prison. Hegseth in particular, he needs to be in prison. He's a disgusting war criminal and should be tried at The Hague. But nonetheless, apparently, CNN reports that sources claim that Trump had been frustrated with Bondi on multiple fronts, including her handling of the Epstein files, and that she had not investigated or prosecuted enough of his political opponents. So, I'll give you a few examples of individuals that Trump really, really wants her to go after or wants his attorney general. By the way, let me just be clear. Things that aren't normal have been normalized, namely the fact that the attorney general is not supposed to be the president's hitman. You know what I'm saying? Or hit woman. The AG is supposed to be independent of the president. But we live in a world now where the AG does not act independently of the president and works at the behest of the president as opposed to prosecuting cases on behalf of the American people. So when Bondi was called into a judicial committee hearing in February to address her department's handling of the investigation into Jeffrey Epstein, she decided to redirect questions to the stock market. So I think this alone made her deserving of firing. But by the way, she isn't being fired. She's just kind of being moved around in the administration. I guess she's gonna serve in some other role. We don't know what that role is gonna be yet. But I mean, she should probably retire because she made a fool out of herself and this country by doing this.
He is the most transparent president in the nation's history. And none of them ask Merrick Garland over the last 4 years one word about Jeffrey Epstein. How ironic is that? You know why? Because Donald Trump, the Dow right now is over. The Dow is over $50,000. I don't know why you're laughing. You're a great stock trader, as I hear, Raskin. The Dow is over 50,000 right now. The S&P at almost 7,000. And the NASDAQ smashing records. Americans' 401ks and retirement savings are booming. That's what we should be talking about.
Isn't she embarrassed? And it's not just about Pam Bondi. All of the people who humiliated themselves publicly to kiss up to Trump, and then he just threw them away, threw them under the bus, and it just keeps happening again and again. But people line up to be humiliated anyway. Is it a kink? It could be a kink. I don't know. And if it's a kink and they want it, then okay, enjoy. I can rub one out later if you want, I guess. But it's so humiliating. I can't imagine raising, Tulsi Gabbard's another example. So she's been sidelined allegedly, although I never really bought into the notion that she was anti-war to begin with. Okay, but now there are talks about her getting the boot as well. So do you feel good about yourself, Tulsi? You got humiliated badly by this man, by an incompetent, orange buffoon. Is power that, I guess, desirable that people are willing to risk being humiliated like this? No idea, but she does it anyway. So there are other politically motivated lawfare cases that Trump might want his new attorney general, Todd Blanche, to get involved in. One matter drawing Trump's attention recently was an investigation into whether former CIA Director John Brennan made false statements to Congress about a years-old intelligence assessment of Russian meddling in the 2016 election. Can we please just move on? Can we please move on, please? I'm begging you guys. It's been 10 years. Look, I get it. The Democrats effed up big time, okay? There was nothing there when it came to Russia collusion in the 2016 election. And I'm embarrassed that I ever bought any of it, okay? That was embarrassing for me. At least I'm willing to have enough self-awareness to say I messed up by taking anything that these people had to say at face value. But putting that aside, can we move on? Can we please move on? And more importantly, here's a real question for you, Oz. I do think that Democrats are going to take over at least the House after the midterms. Are you at all worried that they are going to squander their time in control of the House with endless investigations that are gonna go nowhere?
Man, I mean, there's no doubt they're gonna squander it. I think it's just to what degree the squandering is gonna happen. I think it's a mistake. I think it would be a mistake to not bring Pete Hegseth up for prosecution and haul him up to Capitol Hill and explain to people why they were shooting fishing boats in the Caribbean, claiming that guys with cocaine were terrorists or guys with fish. Much less were terrorists and just carrying out extrajudicious killing. I mean, they gotta do something about the just general criminality. Maybe you let Trump, he's old, he's fat, eats a lot of McDonald's, he'll be gone anyway. Maybe you let Trump himself ride off into the sunset, but his little underlings, Stephen Miller and these other guys, they need to be dealt with.
I agree.
I don't see how you let some of that slide. Now, the Russia, and some of the other stupid stuff they like to do. I think is far in terms of like Trump's corruption and the bribes. I think you need to just move on from that when it comes to Trump specifically. But I think the underlings should be free game.
I totally
think
agree.
People should be scared to go along with this stuff. People should be forced to resign before they go along with just outright criminality in these jobs. And so to me, I really hope, because even when they get the House back, because that's the first thing they could do, they got subpoena power, can put people under oath, and folks should be forced to answer some Elon and all of these clowns, like all of the Doge people, all of those guys should be hauled up. Everybody who's not Trump, I think should be fair game, Anna.
Oh, I totally agree with you on that. I mean, Pete Hegseth, I would put at the top of that list. Bragging about slaughtering innocent people.
The gloves are off, so now we get to kill school children. Make it make sense. And what's so crazy to me, Anna, like listening to these guys talk, specifically Hegseth, because you mentioned him and how they talk about war and this idea of might makes right. I remember, as we were watching Israel prosecute their genocide in Gaza, I was like, man, all of these civilian deaths, I don't see how this is any different from Al-Qaeda logic. You call people terrorists all day, every day. I don't see what they did on 9/11 as a different logic from what you guys do in Gaza. It's the exact same thing. The CIA was in the Twin Towers, so we should kill 3,000 people for it. They actually targeted the Pentagon, a military, operation or whatever, or target, excuse me. Like when I listen to Pete Hegseth, to me, it's rape logic. It's like, I want it, I take it. It's like the logic that people use when they old lady purse snatch. Like, how could that be the message that we want to send to the public? Like,
well, what about what Trump had to say? What about what Trump had to say about Cuba? He was being questioned, I believe, by Caitlin Collins of CNN. And he was just like, they're very weak. I'm just gonna go in and take it. I'm gonna take it.
That's
disgusting.
That just seems like a crazy logic to be expressing to a public. And it's nuts to me. And I understand, during Trump 1.0, the Dems and the libs got annoying about norms and all of this kind of foofy stuff that got on everybody's nerves. I understand that, but we gotta just call it what it is. Like the ideas that these guys are espousing, if taken to its logical conclusion, I'm just telling you, like a rapist could say the same thing. Yeah. Like literally, I want it, I took it.
It's bad.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.